These are a series of examples in electrostatics. And the first one is the determination of how many electrons that an object must lose so that it will have a positive charge of 1 coulomb. So to determine the number of electrons, we'll have this equation: capital Q equal to N multiplied by E, in which capital Q is the resulting positive charge of 1 coulomb. So we have in here 1 coulomb. N being the number of electrons that an object must lose to result a positive charge of 1 coulomb. And E is what we call the elementary charge, which is equal to 1.6 times 10 to the negative 19 coulomb, from which here we'll arrive at N equal to 6.25 by 10 raised to the 18 electrons. In this next example, we are asked of the magnitude of each electrostatic force between the two spheres, in which these two spheres have a charge of negative 2 times 10 raised to the negative 10 coulomb, and the other one is negative 5 times 10 raised to the negative 8 coulomb. They are in fixed position, 5 centimeters apart. And in letter B, if the first sphere, that is Q1, is set loose, what will be the resulting acceleration if it has a mass of 5 times 10 to the negative 3 kilograms? So in here, we'll satisfy what is required in letter A by applying the Coulomb's law. That is, applying this formula: F equal to K Q1 Q2 divided by R squared. Q1 and Q2 are the respective charges, whereas R is the distance between these charges. Meanwhile, K is what we call electrostatic constant, in which K is further equal to 1 divided by 4 pi E sub O, in which E sub O is what we call the permittivity of free space constant, and approximately this is equal to 8.85 times 10 raised to negative 12 coulomb square per Newton square meter. So that from here, we'll be able to determine K. So substituting or plugging in the value of E sub O here in the formula of K, we'll get K as equal to 8.992 times 10 raised to 9 Newton meter squared per coulomb squared. And in many other references, this K here, the electrostatic constant, is taken as 9 times 10 raised to 9 Newton meter squared coulomb squared. Having established the value of the electrostatic constant K, we can then determine the magnitude of the electrostatic force between the two spheres. That is F equal to 9 times 10 raised to 9 Newton meter squared divided by coulomb squared. We multiply this by negative 2 times 10 raised to negative 10 coulombed, and Q2 is negative 5 times 10 negative 8 coulomb divided by 5 all divided by 100. That is, we converted centimeter into an equivalent meter, so that there will be consistency of units in this equation. So this is now meter. We square this and we'll get a value of 36 times 10 raised to the negative 6 newtons. This is actually repulsion, for the reason that we have two negative charges, so they will repel each other. Now in letter B, what will be the resulting acceleration if the first sphere is set loose? Simply, we'll apply the formula F is equal to ma, F being 36 times 10 raised to the negative 6 Newton. The mass is already in kilograms, so 5 times 10 raised to the negative 3 kilogram multiplied by the acceleration. And here, the acceleration will be equal to 7.19 times 10 to the negative 3 meter per second squared. Okay. In this third example, we are asked of the magnitude of force that both Q1 and Q2 exerts on the third charge Q3, in which Q1 and Q2 are 10 centimeter apart, and that Q3 is located 6 centimeters from Q2 and 16 centimeters from Q1. So that is, say we have Q1 in here, we have Q2 here, and Q3 here. So this is 10 centimeters and 6 centimeters. To satisfy letter A, column law is used, that is F equals K Q1 Q2 divided by R squared. And in this case, since we are to determine the magnitude of force that each of Q1 and Q2 exerts on Q3, will then change Q2 into Q3. So this must be Q3. Also, we can say this to be F sub 13. And that the distance between Q1 and Q3 is 16 centimeters. So let us introduce a subscript in here, 13 also. So plugging in the values, we have 9 times 10 raised to 9 Newton meter squared divided by column squared multiplied by Q1, which is negative 20 times 10 negative 6 column multiply by Q3, which is 5 times 10 negative 6 column divided by distance between Q1 and Q3, which is 16 centimeters. We have to convert the centimeters into meter for consistency of units. So divided by 100. This is now in meters. We square this. We'll then get a value of negative 35.16 newtons. This is traction, since we have negative and positive charges respectively. Similarly, F23, the electrostatic force exerted by Q2 on Q3, F23 is equal to 9 times 10 raised to 9 multiplied by Q2, which is negative 15 times 10 negative 6, and Q3 is positive 5 times 10 negative 6 column divided by the distance between them, as we see, is 6 centimeters. 6 divided by 100 to convert this into equivalent meter. We square this, we'll get a value of negative 187.5 newtons. This as well is attraction, since we have two opposite charges, negative and positive. In letter B, the magnitude and direction of the net force acting on Q3 is the net force. It is equal to F13 plus F23. So we have negative 35.16 plus negative 187.5. This will give us negative 222.66 newtons. This is attraction. Since F13 is attraction, say this is Q3, F13 is in this direction, F13. Q3 is attracted to Q1. And similarly, this is F23, that Q3 still is attracted to Q2. So the net force is actually the summation of both F13 and F23. Okay? This next example is about electric field. Specifically, we are asked of the following. In letter A, what are the forces acting on the sphere in which the sphere is suspended between two oppositely charged parallel plates? So if we have in here a positively charged and negatively charged plates respectively, okay, and a charge is suspended in between these parallel plates. In letter A, what are the forces acting on the sphere? Simply, we have the weight as well as the electrostatic force, Fe. Okay, so this satisfies letter A, that the forces acting on the sphere are both the electrostatic force as well as the weight. Now in B, if the sphere has a charge of negative 3.92 times 10 raised to negative 9 coulomb, what is the magnitude of the electrostatic force that acts on the sphere? And here in B, we are to remember the equation electric field equals electrostatic force divided by the charge. Simply, this is substitution of the given values, such as E, the electric field being equal to 2,500 Newton per coulomb, and we are asked of the electrostatic force, Fe, divided by the charge, which is negative 3.92 times 10, negative 9 coulomb, from which the electrostatic force, Fe, is equal to negative 9.8 times 10, negative 6 newtons. In letter C, we are asked of the mass of the sphere. Simply, from the figure, we see that Fe is equal to the weight. Then we substitute the value of Fe, which is negative 9.8 times 10 negative 6 newtons, the mass, and G, which is 9.81 meter per second squared. We'll get the value of M is equal to negative 998.98 times 10 to the negative 9 kilograms. Here is another example about work in moving charges. So the situation is we have a proton that moves 2 centimeters along the direction of a uniform electric field of magnitude 5 times 10 raised to 3 Newton per coulomb. And in letter A, we are asked of either the proton losing or gaining energy. So, say we have here the source of the electric field. We have positively charged plates, and parallel to that is the negatively charged plate. Thereby, we'll have the direction of electric field from positive to negative, and that we have in here a proton. Okay, the proton moves in the direction of the electric field. Hence, if such is so that the proton moves in the direction of the electric field, it is said to be that the proton loses energy. Okay, so the proton loses energy. Now in B, calculate the work done on the proton. Okay, so work is equal to force times R, in which R is the distance displaced by the proton. We can determine F from the equation E equal to F divided by Q, in which the electric field is given to be 5 times 10 raised to 3 Newton per coulomb, and the unknown F divided by 1.6 times 10 raised to negative 19 coulomb. We'll get a value of F equal to 8 times 10 negative 16 newtons, from which we substitute this F here. Okay, so we'll get the value of work equal to the force, which is 8 times 10 negative 16 multiplied by the distance at which the proton moved. So that is 2 centimeters. We convert centimeters to meter. So divided by 100. We'll get the work as equal to 1.6 times 10 negative 17 Newton meter or joule. Okay. Now in C, we are asked of the change in electric potential energy of the proton. Simply, this is the negative of the work done. Okay. So the change in electric potential energy is the negative of work. So this is 1.6 times 10 negative 17 joules. And lastly, in letter D, if the proton was initially at rest, we are asked of the speed after moving 2 centimeters. Now that the proton has moved, okay, the potential energy is now converted to kinetic energy, so that kinetic energy, or the change in kinetic energy, is equal to 1.6. This time we'll simply have to disregard the negative sign, since we are to calculate the speed after moving 2 centimeters. So instead of negative, we write simply the absolute value, which is 1.6 times 10 negative 17 joule or Newton meter. This is equal to 1/2 times the mass multiplied by Vf squared minus Vi squared. The mass of a proton being approximately equal to 1.67 times 10 to the negative 27 kilograms. We then substitute the values to this formula of kinetic energy. So we write 1.6 times 10 to the negative 17 equal to 1/2 the mass, which is 1.67 times 10 negative 27 kilograms, multiplied by Vf squared minus 0 squared, since it was said that the proton started from rest. Here we'll get a value of the velocity or the speed after moving 2 centimeters equal to 138,425.708 meter per seconds. Okay, so take note that in this equation there is consistency of units. In this example, we are asked to calculate the potential at points A and B relative to charge Q, which is equal to negative 5 times 10 raised to 6 coulomb. Now, suppose that points A and B have distance 0.1 and 0.2 with reference to Q respectively. So if this is Q, we have in here point A, say a distance of 0.1, and that of point B, a distance of 0.2 meters. Now, the electric potential of these points relative to Q can be calculated from the formula V equal to W, which is work, divided by Q. If we are dealing with the potential of these points, then this could be rewritten as W divided by Q, wherein W is F times R, and that F is equal to K, capital Q, Q divided by R squared, the distance between the charges capital Q and small q. We multiply this by R, resulting to work equal to K Q divided by R, and substituting W in the electric potential V, we'll then have V equal to K QQ divided by RQ, and we are left with K Q divided by R. Now, solving for the potential of B in reference to the charge Q, say VB, we have K, which is equal to 9 times 10 raised to 9 Newton meter squared divided by Coulomb squared. We multiply this with negative 5 times 10 raised to negative 6 Coulomb divided by 0.2 meter. This will give us a value of negative 225 times 10 raised to 3 joule per coulomb or volts. Okay. Now for potential at point A, we have similarly equal to 9 times 10 raised to 9 multiplied by negative 5 times 10 raised to negative 6 divided by the distance between Q and A is 0.1. This will give us negative 450 rather, times 10 raised to 3 joule per coulomb or volts. Okay. Now suppose that we have these distances of charges as well as points. Say this is where Q1 is, Q2 and Q3 here, whereas say this is point A and point B. Q1, Q2 and Q3. The corresponding distances between these charges and points are, say, this is 0.2 meter, 0.2, 0.3, and say 0.2 meters. And we are to determine the potential at both points A and B with reference to the given charges Q1, Q2, and Q3. So we simply have to get the summation of the potential of Q1, 2, and 3 with reference to, say, point A. Starting off with the potential at A, say VA. We note that the formula for potential is K, Q divided by R. And since that we have multiple charges in here, as said a while ago, we simply have to get the summation of these potentials. Okay, such that we have K multiplied by Q1 divided by R1 plus Q2 divided by R2 plus Q3 divided by R3. Since K is constant among these terms, hence we have VA equal to 9 times 10 raised to 9. Q1 is 2 times 10 raised to negative 6 divided by the distance of Q1 from A is 0.7 plus Q2 1 times 10 negative 6 divided by distance of Q2 from A is 0.5 meters plus Q3, which is negative 4 times 10 negative 6 coulomb divided by 0.3, and this will give us a potential of negative 76.29 times 10 to the third power joule per coulomb or volts. Now, solving that of the potential at B, we do the same actually. So VB 9 times 10 raised to 9. Okay, so 2 times 10 raised to negative 6 as Q1 divided by the distance of point B with reference to Q1. So that is 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.9, okay, 0.9 meter plus Q2 1 times 10 negative 6 divided by this is 0.7 plus negative 4 times 10 negative 6 divided by 0.5. A value of negative 39.14 times 10 to the third power joule per coulomb or volts will be the electric potential at point B.